movie nerds. Welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, I'm going to do an episode that's a little bit different, or at least outside of the regular content that I normally post. So I do really love watching movies and television, but I really like documentaries and things as well. And as a basic girl, I enjoy like true crime and documentaries of that nature. First, before I jump into all of this, I want to apologize if my voice sounds a little bit weird. So the documentary that I actually wanted to talk to you guys about, I finished like just maybe 15 minutes ago, and I needed to jump on and talk about it. And like the baby or Cancerian that I am, I bawled my eyes out, and so my voice is a little bit raspy and just weird sounding because of it. But this documentary just kind of, it connects into another episode that I did previously in the storyline, or kind of the general details of it. So I knew like kind of that I wanted to do an episode to touch on it. So the documentary that I wanted to talk about today is called Sins of Our Mother, and it just recently was released on Netflix. I had no intention really of watching it. It just so happened that I kind of was all caught up with some of the other stuff that I was trying to finish watching, and it popped up as a recommended. And when I read the description that it said, you know, that this mother was a member of the LDS church and had gotten wrapped up kind of in this cult mentality and had ended up taking the lives of two of her children, it reminded me of the movie series, or TV series rather, Under the Banner of Heaven, that I had done a review on previously. And Under the Banner of Heaven was the story of these brothers that were raised in the LDS church that went extremely fundamentalist in their views and ended up taking the lives of their sister-in-law and her baby daughter. Well, the story of Under the Banner of Heaven is a true one, so the TV series is based on a true story. That being said, I looked up and had found out that the series was actually made from a book of the same title. So I purchased that book and I read the entire thing cover to cover, just because I have, and here's kind of like, you know, I know everyone jokes about how women really love watching, you know, true crime and serial killer documentaries. And I think for me, at least, I don't understand the mentality. Like in my brain, like I love to learn about people and try and understand people. And there's something about a person who is capable of like killing someone else that my brain never can really understand that. So I think I like, you know, listening to podcasts about true crime or watching documentaries like this, because I'm always expecting at some point one of these documentaries is going to hit something that, you know, my brain is going to suddenly have this epiphany of like, oh, I think I understand. And it never happens, you know, and it shouldn't, because really like the majority of us are never, ever, ever going to understand how someone can take another person's life. It doesn't compute, as you know. And so sitting down and watching Sins of Our Mother, it guts me to hear stories like this. And the story really is this woman named Lori Vallow, and she ends up meeting someone who kind of convinces her of this doomsday Mormon fundamentalist, like extreme cult kind of views, not related, you know, to the regular LDS church or anything like that. But like he kind of branched off and decided that he was like a disciple, and ended up meeting this woman, and she fell in love with him. And through kind of their corrupted thoughts on things, they ended up not only killing his wife, but killing her husband, and then killing two of her children. in this way of like saying that they were dark spirits, that Jesus wanted taken care of. And it breaks my heart to think of the endless number of people that suffer for like one person's grand idea of, this fiction, this reality that they build in their own mind. And it's like, it's not like I can sit and say, oh, well, it's LDS or it's Mormonism or I think that there are crazy people that think this way in kind of every faction of life. And it's horrifying to think of that, like my brain can't compute that way of thinking, like to think that you could ever harm your own child or, that you would essentially brainwash yourself to the point of doing just unspeakable things. It's hard for me to understand how that's possible for a person to do. And this documentary just, it's just so heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's like fascinating to just see how it unfolds, how someone can have what anyone would consider a regular life and then have it just end so tragically, like to have it change so much. And I think if there's anything really that we can take away from watching documentaries like this, it's to be aware, right? To be aware of like the signs or kind of the clues or red flags that something is going wrong. Because I think that was a reoccurring theme in the book, Under the Banner of Heaven, that there were people that knew that things were wrong. And, what allowed to these unspeakable things being allowed to happen was that there were too many people that knew something was wrong and didn't say anything about it, And so really, if there's anything that I would say, it would be take a couple of hours. I think it's just 3 1-hour episodes and watch Sins of Our Mother, if for no other reason than just to recognize that there were people who should have been here that aren't, and that we can maybe pay closer attention to those things, those red flags, and maybe say something the next time that we see one and maybe save someone's life. So I recognize this is not one of my normal, happy, upbeat episodes, and I apologize for that. I promise we'll get back to some sunnier movies and some better, more upbeat episodes. But gosh, this documentary just sort of took the wind out of me, and I knew I needed to talk about it and share it with the movie nerds. So please subscribe if you want to join the movie nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.